Hello everybody, this is Mayor Mike. I'm at 50 Chapman Place. This is our alternative town hall. If you recall, we've got a $21 million renovation going at Town Hall, and that's going quite well. We should be back in Town Hall before you know it, as early February 2024. So until then, we broadcast here out of 50 Chapman Place. I have 4 questions today and a number of announcements that you may find interesting. Question number 1 comes from James. And he said, whatever happened to the fiber internet the town was installing last year? And for a little bit more background on what James is talking about, Sci-Fi is doing a 100% home to the premise, so basically ground into every home, into every business, a underground fiber installation. They will be direct competitors to Comcast and direct competitors to Frontier, but they have broken the construction into 7 construction zones, and they finished 1 of the 7 construction zones. They're roughly equal in size for construction scheduling, and that means they're moving a little slow. Well, for zone 1 that got done last year, they haven't blown in the fiber yet, which should be fairly quickly. They have told us that once they blow in the fiber, they will light up the districts. But more importantly, my question to them is, how are you going to get the other 6 districts done more expeditiously? And they're in the middle of changing vendors. They were not particularly happy, and I think some of the residents who had their yards dug up and perhaps a little bit in the street understand what I'm talking about. They were not happy with the restoration work. So they are pivoting from digging and restoring to underground boring. Now their vendor is not in place yet, which is why they're getting a little bit of a slow start, but they think it'll be more cost effective and allow them to move along quicker. So the fiber project is alive and well. It's in the middle of changing vendors from, again, digging and restoring to underground boring, and the town will continue to push them along because we do need competition with Comcast and Frontier as their costs and service capabilities. Costs are going up, service capabilities are flat, and this would be a good thing all around. So that's the answer to James. And question number 231, which is the second of 4 today, comes from Dexter. Dexter says, and Dexter's reached out to me in the past, and I emailed him. There's other people's dogs in the neighborhood using his tree belt to do their business, and that's never a good thing. In particular, the urine, especially if it's a female dog, will actually kill the grass, whether it's in the tree belt or on your lawn. So I replied back to Dexter and said, hey Dexter, give me some specific information. It's not illegal, but it's just not a cool thing if you're curbing your dog on your neighbor's lawn and you're killing the neighbor's lawn. So I'm happy to speak to the neighbor if you don't want to do it. Ted Brannon out of my office, he's a retired police officer, happy to send them. But bottom line is, it's a not a cool thing, but it's also not illegal. So if you send me information I could that's actionable, I'll be happy to put a phone call in or knock on the door. Question number 232, which is 3 of 4 for today, comes from Ashley. Has the town Parks and Rec ever considered doing a basketball tournament in the summer? She's from the West Coast, and her city would shut down Main Street to host a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. It promoted local and small businesses, food trucks, and allowed many kids and adults from the East Hartford community to come and enjoy a basketball game. She says it seems like a great time. And Ashley, I think that's a great idea. Let me say a couple of things. First off, on July 8th, we've been given marching orders by the East Hartford Town Council to do something around the around the 4th of July holiday. 4th of July, I think, is a Tuesday this year, so it'll be a little bit difficult to do it on Tuesday. But we're going to coordinate with Riverfront Recapture and do some type of food truck festival with 2 local breweries to promote their businesses. Now, we won't have enough time to schedule your basketball tournament, but we think that's a great idea for future years. But in the meantime, Ted Fravel and Sean Dwyer, who's our Director of Parks and Recreation and Assistant Director, also agree that this is a good opportunity. And we'll be coordinating some of those 3-on-3 tournaments at the local parks. And part of the problem is we're in the middle of redoing nearly every basketball court with new pavement. So we're gonna, number 1, complete our capital project. Number 2, try to schedule some games. And then we may have a playoff game either later in the summer or even in the fall, perhaps at Alumni Park. So that's just me sketching out what might happen with respect to food truck festivals and closer to 4th of July. And then Ashley's good idea about getting some 3-on-3 tournaments. Over the weekend, we had a great volunteer event to spread some mulch. We got more than 50 people turned out. So Ashley, I think you're onto something. If we do something for the community, that would be a good thing. And recall, we have the Memorial Day Parade coming up, which I'll talk about in a minute, a little bit more detail. We have Juneteenth coming up, and then a little bit later on, we have Fall Festival. So all three of those things will be good for people to come out, and we may schedule some of those basketball tournaments around that. Question number 233, which is question number 4 for today, comes from Linda. Can somebody from Town Hall come to the Senior Center to collect our payments for town taxes in July, since most of us seniors do not like to send payments in the mail or do payments online? And Linda, another great idea. I was contacted by a resident some months ago who actually had a payment stolen out of the mailbox that was in front of the post office at Silver Lane. So it's getting kind of ridiculous, although I trust the mail implicitly, it's getting kind of ridiculous if even the post office box in front of the post office station is taken, and then unfortunately the crooks, what they call bleach the check, write in their own name, add an additional amount, and then unfortunately some banks are facing, a fraud investigation because they're cashing those checks. So great idea, Linda. I'm not promising it. I've kicked it over to our tax collector and our finance director, and I said, let me know how to do this. So you very well may see me at the Senior Center 1 day a week for 2 hours, and we'll do it in the month of July once the tax bills come out, and that should ease up on some of the concerns. So again, short of a promise, but we're gonna take a look at that. Now back to important information. So first off, let's talk about the Brewer Street closing. I was a little bit alarmed. We closed Brewer Street on May 1st, but the traffic was still heavy. And I saw cars playing chicken going around the barriers as if the road wasn't closed. And I learned a little bit from our town engineer that that was somewhat intentional, that the road was closed, but we didn't tear out the bridge, because we wanted to have traffic in the local residents to have an opportunity to find alternate routes around the closure. So I think you're going to start to see in the next week or so the bridge actually ripped up, and you will not physically be able to get from Forbes Street to Main Street on Brewer. The road will actually be out. And I want to be clear, that road will not be open for about 200 days through November of 2023. However, the repair work on the road, from sidewalks to underlayment to drainage to street lights, everything, and repaving, will commence and continue through November of 24. So bridges out till November of 23, rest of the road work November of 24. Now let's talk about the alternate routes. The original route that was published had everybody coming up Maple or going on Main Street to Maple. Well, we're going to change that up a little bit. Let's talk about the light from Main to Maple if you're going southbound. You can't get through that light. So we're asking everybody, instead of going from High Street to Carter Street to Main Street, instead continue High to Broad, and that way you'll avoid the left turn signal. I got a call from Steve Merrick, who's very animated about the light there, and he's right. We have contacted the Connecticut Department of Transportation, and there will be a left turn signal added to the signalization as part of that project, and that'll be good news since we put a turning lane in there. The parts are on order, and due to supply chain issues, it's several weeks out, but that permanent fix is in the hopper. But until then, if you're coming on Main Street, say from Wendy's, do not hang a left on Carter to go to Main. You'll hit that lack of light to allow you to turn left from Main onto Maple. Instead, go straight as if you're going High to Broad, and you won't have that left turn issue in backup. So thank you to Steve Merrick for bringing that to our attention. We knew about it, but it was a good follow-up. So I think that covers the Brewer Street closing, and I think that covers, there is a left turn signal coming at Main and Maple. The last couple things we want to mention are the Memorial Day Parade. May 29th is the step off, that's 10 a.m. We need people to attend. We need it bigger than last year. Last year we brought it back after 6 years. What we're seeing is we have another 100 marchers compared to last year, and we have more food trucks for last year. The last year event was very, very hot. We're hoping for a little bit better weather, but this is more going to be a larger celebration of East Hartford kicked off as we honor veterans both nationally and locally who gave their lives in the line of duty, or those that are still with us. We're going to honor both, and there'll be a flyover. So it'll be a cool event, ended with food trucks on Goodwin University's property, so come join us. I also want to highlight two other important things. May 20th from 8 to 1, Pitkin Street, the MDC, they have a hazardous waste collection facility site that day. That's paints, that's chemicals that are lying around the house. Please come out on May 20th, Pitkin Street, MDC, and that is the hazardous waste collection. And the reason the town doesn't do it is our landfill is not licensed to take the stuff. So MDC arranges for a vendor, and that's so you don't wash it into the sewer or wash it through our water supply. Finally, on the same day, we have a shredding event in Prestige Park at Enviro Shred. That's from 8 to 12. And by the way, the MDC issue, the MDC hazardous waste was 8 to 1. But jumping back to the shredding at Enviro Systems, that is 8 to 12. That is Prestige Park Circle, and that's on the same day, May 20th. So again, lots going on between the Memorial Day Parade, the shredding event, the hazardous waste. We're gonna see if we can get some help to the seniors with respect to paying their taxes. That'll be all checks, no cash, if we're able to do it. So I'll have more information as we get closer to that. Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is Mayor Mike from 50 Chapman Place. Hopefully, as we kick off summer, things will get warmer and we'll have a great summer. Talk to you soon.